Any questions from anyone at this stage? That's great. So then it's time for Kanya to take over and introduce you to the business model canvas. There we go.
Hi, everyone. As Barry mentioned, my name is Kanya Nkula. So I have been afforded the opportunity to share the business model canvas with those who might not know what it is and those who might know. Please feel free to add or comment where you can, or even ask questions where you want to. So what is the business model canvas? It's a strategic management and lean startup template for developing new or documenting existing business models. It was proposed initially by Alexander Osterwalder based on his initial work on business ontology. So the business model canvas, it's a visual template that can be used by startups or entrepreneurs in order to highlight the main elements of the organization. That's what the business model canvas is made of, is mainly supposed to do. The canvas is made up of 9 segments, and the next slide is going to take us through those 9 segments. So these 9 segments are identified as some of the most important segments that are vital for the survival of your startup or your business. So here are the segments. I'll just take you through them. Customer segments being the first one. So when we talk about customer segments, the entrepreneur normally needs to ask themselves, who are we trying to assist? What's our target market? That's the first one. So I'm not sure if you can really see here, but it says, for whom are we creating the value for? Customer segment, value proposition. What problem are we trying to solve? That's your value proposition. Customer relationships. What's the kind of relationship that we want to have with our customers? How do we retain them? How do we grow them? As well as how do we keep them? Channels. How are you communicating with your customers? Currently, what do they want you to communicate them with or through? That's customer channels. And then we move on to key resources / infrastructure. So key resources talks to what are the resources or the infrastructure that you need to bring to life your value proposition, as well as what do you need to address your customer segment, your channels, as well as your customer relationships. You'll see on the next slide, I'm going to take you through an actual example of where the business model canvas was actually applied. So these questions in the next slide are actually answered, and we're going to go through an Uber example of how they applied the BMC. Key activities. What are the key activities that you need to do in order for you to bring to life your value proposition, your customer relation, and so forth. Key partners, internally, externally, the entrepreneur needs to ask themselves, what do we need, or who do we need in order to bring all of this to life? As you can see down at the bottom, we also have revenue streams. So the question here mainly is about what are our customers willing to pay for the service or the product that we are offering to them? And then cost structure basically speaks to what are the costs that come out of this business model. So we took a look at an Uber example. Literally, a business model canvas is you taking a piece of paper, highlighting these 9 different elements for your organization, asking yourself or the team these different questions and answering them. If you look at this example, for the Uber example, customer segments, you can see there that Uber took a look at 2 different types of customers, their drivers as well as the riders. They also took a look at their demographic, their socioeconomic background, as well as customer patterns for their customers. So I suppose you're asking yourself, where and when would you be using this? It's for a startup, it's big organizations as well use it. And it gives you a high level understanding of what you're trying to bring to the market for your customers. Channels, as I mentioned, it talks about how do you want to communicate with your customers? Is it digital, social media, for Uber, word of mouth, local campaigns, and so forth. Customer relationships. As you can see there again, it was split into 3 different kinds of relationships that you will have with your customer. But most importantly, the value proposition. I guess I should have started with that after customer segments. But your value proposition is looking at what are you bringing for the drivers as well as for your customers. What is the service or the product that you want to deliver to them? Key resources, remember we spoke about in the previous slide, these are your infrastructure or the resources that you need to bring your service or product to life. So it would be either networks, data analytics, and so forth. Key partners, we're looking at internal as well as external partners. So who do you need? It's the who do you need in order to bring this, again, into life. So, okay, let me go through the rest of it as well. Revenues. So we spoke about what are your customers willing to pay for what you are bringing to the market. As you can see there, it talks about total booking fares, net revenue, net loss, and so forth. And then your cost structure talks about what are the costs that will be accumulated because of this business model. So what we found is that with using the business model canvas, there are a few advantages. And one of them is that it provides you, the entrepreneur or the startup, with a bird's eye view of the organization and the elements that are within. And it most especially provides them with the opportunity to test an hypothesis or even an idea fast, because it has this iterative approach. With the business model canvas, there's a lot of research as well as investigation that goes into answering those questions. And it's not a once-off sort of an exercise of practice, but it's something that you continuously need to do with your customers, and it's not in isolation from the market at large. So you will see there, I've written that it allows the digital entrepreneurs to quickly test hypotheses and rapidly introduce new concepts. We know we live in an age where it's an idea, it's inception today, tomorrow it's out in the market. So how do you keep up with the market, the forever changing demand of your customers as well? It's very important. And this is where BMC also comes in. It assists with that. It also provides you with the opportunity to fully understand your organization. Okay, not fully, but mostly understand what you want to do. And it communicates to the larger crowd as well as to what are we trying to do, what do we want to do. And it also helps you highlight those segments that require work. So let's say, for example, your cost structure, your cost segment requires some work. You are easily able to pick that up within using the BMC. So as mentioned, BMC focuses on these 9 segments. It provides the entrepreneur with much support in developing the minimal viable product. But with that being said, with the research and the work that we've been doing, one thing we realized that for the entrepreneur, it's easy, or it's relatively intuitive for them to be able to come up with the value proposition and to come up with the idea and to innovate. But it becomes slightly more difficult when there's a software product required at the end in order for them to think on how do we actually go about doing this, and how do we make sure that we take into account software practices and engineering practices when developing what we need. So that's when we came to this point that this is where Essence comes in, to assist the entrepreneur, to assist the one who is able to innovate and come up with these ideas. And if it has a software component, how do we help them think or provide a framework that will be able to assist them to bring this idea to market? So the next portion is where now we will be talking about Essence.